now streaming live. Full Velocity TV begins now.
And your source for esports racing is live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Full Velocity Racing Network live tonight from Sin City, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Tuesday night. It means it is time for the NR 2003 Series Hobo Racing Cup Series presented by Voiles Trucking, and it comes to you live tonight via Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch TV. Hello, everyone. Phil Lacassiere, Blake McCandless back alongside Jack Chewin on the controls this evening. And Blake, we get to the first race of the Hobo Cup Series chase. It's right here at Vegas. A terrific car count on hand and 16 drivers. We're going to cover here through the duration of the season on to the Series Championship. I'm locked and loaded, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Phil. I'm really looking forward to tonight. We have a really fast racetrack out here, and with open setups, that means these guys that have really dialed their stuff in, they're going to be on the edge, they're going to be going fast, and there's going to be a lot of different comers and goers throughout this entire night. So ready to go, and excited to see these 16 guys that are battling for the championship who can get off to a great start in race number one.
Absolutely right. We'll have all 114 laps on display, but before we get racing, what do you say we throw this thing trackside? Let's pay honor to this great country, the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, the playing of our national anthem. All right, back here live inside the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jack kind of caught me there sleeping. Had a mouthful of drink and couldn't swallow it down fast enough to come back live. So I appreciate you all tuning in this evening. Got to thank our great sponsors, of course. Got to thank Hanover Record Service, iRacing, iFlag, Voiles Trucking, presenting sponsor here tonight. Of course, CCM Custom Designs. Also got to thank BladeNo.com, South Texas Speedway, Monster Productions, TDR Racing League, Hard Motorsports, Trash Panda Graphics, and Full Throttle with the Gent, and all ISTAT reps out there as well. As we get going, trackside, Blake, a field of 32 cars. Let's take a gander at tonight's starting lineup.
Well, rolling off the grid first is a name that many of our fans out there will be familiar with. It's Caleb Lingle. He'll start alongside Keith McLean, who is running second. Kevin Roy, he'll be starting third alongside Jordan McGregor, the newcomer, who is starting fourth. Gary Morin is fifth, followed by Herman Rice in sixth. Steve Grant will start seventh. Rolling off eighth will be the 193 of Ricky Johnson. The 61 car, that's Paulie. He'll be rolling off ninth. And then the 59 car, he'll be starting 10th. And that's the 59 of Sorensen.
Rolling off 11th tonight, aboard the number 13 is Harry Cody, and alongside the 029 is Keila Jules. Let's throw this thing trackside for tonight's command.
Drivers, start your engines!
All right, we leave off at row number 7, rolling off 13th tonight. Aboard car number 25 is Ron Simpson, alongside in the double deuce to 22 of Jason San Diego. Ricky Bumbalo rolls off 15th aboard the 85 with Jeff Stacanis in number 31 alongside. Brendan Spadafora brings the Two Guns Films number 37 out from 17th, with Steve Rubino rolling off 18th with 21. Eddie Rayleigh and Danny Rubino will round out our top 20.
Rick Craddock will start 21st, 22nd, Brett Carter. 23rd will be the 9 Sumdrop Dodge of Fugate. Rolling off 24th is going to be Rich Napick. 25th, Troy Donahue. 26th, Brian Voley. 27th, Wiley King. 28th, Manny D. 29th will be the 57 of R. Keller. And then starting 30th will be Bob Gibson.
Randy Smith, Maverick, and Daniel Dupuis will make up our 33-car field here tonight live from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Scheduled now for 107 laps. It changed up there on my end. I'm not sure what the heck's up with that, but hey, we'll go 107. We'll go the duration of the night if we have to. We're ready to lock and load here. Sin City about to come alive. Who is going to roll the dice here tonight with Lady Luck on their side and pay off with a big gamble, winning the first race of the chase here at Hobo? Pace car is off the speedway, and we've set the sights on Caleb Lingle, Keith McLean, a pair of Fords on the front row, waiting on that starter. Put the green flag down. All right, racing guy flag, green flag up in the air. Let's go racing off Blake into turn 1.
Let's go racing. They're going to be side by side on the front row. You see Lingle and the 28 of McLean. McLean, he'll drop back in line, but now he'll make a move to the inside as Lingle slides up the racetrack. They'll be side by side off at 2. McLean gets out of the gas. He collects it, though, but he's going to lose a little bit of momentum. Now he has McGregor behind him.
Yeah, McGregor's up to 3rd, but we're already under yellow Blake. First time tonight as they roll off into turn 1 and 2 for the first time, and there is a lot of smoke over in turns number 1 and 2. What looks like maybe resembling a parking lot over there. This one broke, it looks like, right in maybe the back part of the top 10. A couple of cars all kind of got together, and that sent everybody scrambling. Definitely saw Keith McLean up there. I think his kind of slide may have kind of put the brakes on everybody. Our first BladeNote.com is the replay of the night, and I think it will show, I believe I saw Herman Reese up in the outside wall in the number 73, and I'm not sure if he got loose up in the high lane. I believe he may have got some help from behind. That bright green number 9, or no, that's a 193 of Ricky Johnson out there tonight, 193. Looks like he may have gotten the back of Herman and set off Blake what appears to be a pretty wild ride through a catastrophe back there.
Well, I'm following Reese through turn 1. It looks like he checks up a little bit. He just kind of checks up to try and collect it in turn 1, and Ricky Johnson running right on his bumper. He had nowhere to go, so the 193 definitely collects. That 73 Cadillac sends him up into the outside wall, and then I think you described it perfectly, Phil, a parking lot, nowhere to go, and unfortunately a crash that was at the front of this field because Reese had qualified pretty well. He rolled off 6th tonight. So unfortunately for Reese and a lot of these competitors, early damage, and for a lot of these guys, that's going to hurt some of their chances here in the chase. Lap 1, and you're already going to be behind the 8 ball here.
Yeah, absolutely, Blake. And there's already going to be 3 cars out of the event as we take a look over at the chase grid with these drivers here tonight. 16 on round 1. Herman Reese, Kilo Jules, Harry Cody Ann, Randy Smith, Jason San Diego, Caleb Lingle, Steve Grant, Jeff Fugate, Rich Napick, Keith McLean, Kevin Roy, Danny Hardy, Duke Sorensen, Steve Rubino, Maverick, and Danny Rubino are our 16 championship eligible drivers. We'll have 3 races to get through into the round of 12, including tonight, next week at the Richmond Raceway, and 2 weeks from tonight at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. They're going to run the 1.5 mile here next 2 weeks from tonight here on Tuesday, but we have multiple cars tore up, including the likes of a guy going for a championship, that number 59 of Duke Sorensen. He was involved in that wreck. He's already behind the wall. That is not the way Duke wanted to start his chase.
No, it wasn't. And I remember I saw in chat just a little bit earlier how many cars were involved in this accident.
Oh,
I think
tons.
The better question is how many cars were not involved in that accident, because I'm looking through the field and I had already counted just on my finger about 15 cars. And you got to think this was a large field coming into tonight. 33 cars took the green flag so far. We already have 3 cars that have gone behind the wall. That's the 59 of Sorensen, the 112 of Rayleigh, and also the 20 of Rick Craddock. He didn't make it past lap 1. He's going to roll off tonight and finish in 33rd as he rolls behind the wall. So 3 cars out of this event. And really, it was just those 4 or 5 cars that were out front that seemed to avoid all this trouble here in turns 1 and 2.
I believe you're right, and I think that's a better question. Who wasn't involved out there was definitely a big stack up in a parking lot over the first turn, slowed the field back down. Let's these drivers kind of calm down. The ones that may have got some damage or flat spotted tires to throw down pit side, maybe put some fresh skins on and come back out there, and hopefully with not too much damage on the race cars, but definitely a tough break for a lot of these drivers early. We talk about, the likes of Duke Sorensen running for a championship. Also, guys like Maverick, a guy who was, championship eligible. He tore up in this one. Guys like Herman Reese, one of the heavy hitters over here at Hobo. Randy Smith got a piece of a 10 car. Steve Grant, number 11, took a hit. So, these are guys that are really, really some of the top names over here at Hobo that are going to be starting behind the 8 ball. But as I look down here, pit road is open. Looks like a lot of cars have elected to come down and maybe top off, or maybe some more damage repair to stay on the lead lap. So a lot is going to play up. Like, we're only 4 laps in of 107. We still have a long night ahead. And for guys that may have some tore up race cars, aerodynamics here in Vegas, it plays a bigger role than I think we all kind of anticipate. They may have a long night ahead of them.
They certainly do, but Phil, the thing I was kind of mentioning when we first started the broadcast is there's a lot of grip in this Las Vegas SBP 07 version of this racetrack. These guys can really move through the corner very well. It's not a track where you have to lift a lot. You're able to carry a lot of speed through the corners, and I think that's going to be the big difference tonight is who has the car set up well so that you can practically go wide open through turns 1 and 2 and through 3 and 4. Unfortunately, that's going to put the tire temps up. You're going to wear your tires a little bit more doing that, so the guys that have figured out that balance, if they can have the handling and the speed, I know that sounds pretty cliche, but I think that's the factor tonight. And then obviously the aerodynamics as well. You do have a little bit of aero tight in these cars, and obviously it helps to be the guy that is out front like Caleb Lingle is right now, not only because of some of the less aero that you have to battle, but obviously no traffic, and you don't have to worry about guys spinning in front of you. Caleb Lingle's looking out, and all he sees is the pace car, and eventually that'll drop down and let him try to lead the rest of this race.
Absolutely right. As we parade here under yellow 4 laps in, as I take my first look over to Facebook Live here tonight to see who's tuning in, is a pretty healthy little crowd. I'm going to say, Jack, the stream looks absolutely fantastic over here on Facebook this evening. All streaming in high def. Say hey to Rusty Bradshaw. Our old buddy Eddie Lee out there watching. Eddie, hope all is well. Sam Perry from BladeNote.com checking in as well. So Facebook over here alive and early. YouTube is always the place to be at Hobo. We got the ladies in the house. I saw Judy out there. I see Barbara. We see Joel's out there. Roger Nebelsick. I see Danny Rubino was chatting. Great to see y'all out there watching. Joe's out there as well. I'm sure Bobby Farrell is probably not too far behind you guys either. So thanks all for tuning in. Really appreciate, love coming over to Hobo here on a Tuesday night and taking in the sights of the sounds of what the series is going to be. But Blake, the old broadcaster curse. How about clicking back to the live button as I do? We're already back green flag racing. I think I probably missed with a half a lap of that already.
Well, Caleb Lingle's coming out of turn number 4 right now. He'll lead the second lap that actually, no, catch that. We're actually going to be under the yellow flag just as Caleb Lingle is crossing the stripe here to complete lap number 6. So once again, the caution flag flies high over the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, as right now some of these guys having a little bit of trouble with the handling of the car. We'll have the replay up here for you shortly. Not exactly where we're looking in this field. I think it's going to be somewhere on the back straightaway, well behind the rest of this field, where this accident happened.
Yeah, well, I did see at the tail end of the field, Steve Grant was around in the 11, went for a little bit of a loop, but I think it started a little bit further up of him. I think I see the 44 car of Danny Rubino. I think that's maybe kind of where it started. Looks like, somebody got really loose in front of him. I think that may have been Brian Boyles on the 68, who just completely lost the backside of that race car off turn number 2 and slid up the hill. And yeah, just in front of Bino right there. 44 takes a hard hit. Both cars completely obliterated there. So, man, this on these restarts, Blake, and for years you've talked about restarts, cold tires, tough to drive race cars. I think that's the story right there. Boyles got really out of shape and then collected Danny Rubino, another driver out there that was running for a series championship and is going to have to start his night behind the 8 ball and not even 10 laps into this one.
Well, I think the only solace you can take out of a situation like this is, we're already we're on lap 8. we've already had 2 yellows, and how many guys are already facing a lot of trouble here early on in this event. Plenty of championship contenders to talk about. We already have 4 drivers that have retired as Ricky Johnson pulled behind the wall and retired. He'll finish 30th to join Sorensen, Rayleigh, and Craddock behind the wall. But already a couple of guys a lap down facing heavy damage. And again, we've barely run any laps under the green flag, but I think what you said, Phil, kind of goes along with what you were saying earlier. These guys struggling with the handling with these cold tires. These guys are really loose in turns 1 and 2, and the more they pace around under caution, the more those tires cool. And when they get going, it's going to be really icy for just the first couple of corners. If they can get through that, I think they'll be okay. They have single file restarts and plenty of room to try and work things out. But right now, these guys just having a lot of issues right now with their cars tuned up for how fast this racetrack is, trying to keep it straight here in the early going.
Yeah, and I can unfortunately report the Voiles Trucking 68 car behind the wall night going to be done also for Brian Voyle. So tough break there. We saw him get really loose, as Blake said. Ricky Johnson going to also pull behind the wall. He will join Duke Sorensen, Eddie Rayleigh, and Rick Craddock. So we had 33 cars take the green flag, but we're anything close to that now with 5 drivers within the first few laps. Us were already behind the wall, which is a really tough break for a lot of them. But, it's Vegas. It's a place, I think you put 30-plus cars here at Vegas. You got a lot of grip in the racetrack. Open setup, guys going to really have to start their cars probably a little bit on the loose side because, Vegas is always a place where tires are going to heat up. They're going to push a little bit. So you think maybe starting a little bit on the skating side early. The only problem is, Blake, you got to get a couple of laps in to bring those tires up to song, let these setups settle in. And unfortunately, with 30-plus cars, sometimes you're going to do what not a derogatory term I use, but sometimes when you thin the herd a little bit, it may, bring a little bit of green flag racing. I hate seeing guys falling out of the event, but when you see the crowds starting to get a little bit smaller from the drivers, unfortunately, who didn't survive, the ones that did, we usually see a race that will stretch out from here.
No doubt about it, Phil. And actually, one thing that I want to report right now, I was just riding on board and kind of listening to the 113 machine. He's already clutching. Already here, lap 9, we've barely run any laps completely green, and Caleb Lingle is already clutching his car. You know what that's telling me? I checked before these guys got on track. The fuel window is anywhere from about 31 to 32 laps, maybe 33, that you can make it here on fuel. I like this move by Caleb Lingle because you just never know. We could sit here talking about how these guys can't handle their setups and all of that. But we could go green here to the end, and Caleb Lingle already preparing for it like a good race car driver. He's clutching right now because he thinks with how much he has saved under how much we've been running under the yellow flag, he could possibly make it here to the end on 2 stops. I know we are way ahead of that happening. We have a long ways to go here from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but I like the strategy from Caleb Lingle thinking, hey, if this thing runs green, what if I can stretch this thing out on 2 stops when I know plenty of people behind me aren't saving any fuel?
That's exactly right. And to think about it, that's putting about, 33 laps per run on there. So, him saving all that fuel you possibly can may work out, and we'll have to keep an eye on that as this race kind of wears on and see if anybody out there can make it on 2 stops here at Vegas. Man, I guess not impossible, but I know from my recollections of this place, and probably the way I drive it, whatever, but I'm always abusive on a right front tire, so we'll have to see what this plays out. So somebody can make it on 2 stops, man. Well, we'll throw the gambit out there for you tonight because that is going to be pretty dang impressive. But I do believe we're about ready to go back to green flag racing. The lights extinguished around the 1.5 mile Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I want to say, hey, I see Chevy Chase out there. We see Chevy out there. Good to see you, Chevy. Also as well, who is that? Lego Babe 48. Not sure who that is out there. I can't really read the chat from where I'm at, but welcome aboard. Glad you have tuned in with us here this evening. Hope you enjoy the show as we begin the lap number 11. iRacing iFlag, green flag returns to the Speedway.
And right off the bat, it's a 3-car breakaway. McGregor, McLean, and Lingle all have a huge advantage over the 4th-place car of Kevin Roy as they head down into turn number 1. This is where everybody's been struggling. Let's see if they can make it through this corner. It looks like so far so good. Everybody trying to get through just a couple of laps clean so we can really see who has a strong car tonight, who's going to be a threat for this win. These guys just trying to take it easy right now as they make it through 3 and 4.
Yeah, they all walk through turn number 2 and down out of 3 and 4. I was kind of going back to the field to see if we all got through, and looks like so far so good. Some cars, obviously tore up there with damage, a little bit off the pace, but the top 3 trying to pull away up front. And oh, Blake, we got one around again in 3 and 4. We go back under our 3rd Hanover Record Service yellow flag of the night. Gonna make Jack really busy down here early on with BladeNote.com full velocity instant replays, but trying to take a quick peek of maybe of what have happened here. Not sure if this one was a spin or an engine or a combination of two, but the first thing I see is Rob Keller in the 57 around off the 4th turn, and not sure if that was it or something up ahead of him, but there was definitely some cars involved off the exit of 4.
Well, Phil, I think I know the culprit. These guys were riding around in turns 3 and 4, and Steve Grant in that number 11 Pontiac, he already has a ton of damage on that car. He's just trying to wheel it around. He gets a little bit loose kind of in the middle of turn 3. That causes the 23 of Maverick to check up. He bounces off the apron, and when he comes back up onto the racetrack, he tags the 57 of Rob Keller, puts him hard into the outside wall here in turn 4. Heavy damage on the nose of that 57 Chevrolet. It's billowing smoke out of the engine, and Maverick looks like he's going to be able to get away somewhat unscathed, has a little bit of damage on that John Deere Chevrolet, but I think that's what happened. Steve Grant caused a little bit of a checkup right there. Maverick tried to slow down for him, and unfortunately when he did, that's just the culprit with these cold tires. It's so loose, you can try to get out of the gas, and then all of a sudden the car just takes off on you and you have nowhere to go. But a tough break for Rob Kellers. It looks like his evening may be done.
Yeah, it looks like it, Blake. As the 57 pulls behind the wall, there was some black smoke just pouring out of that thing. I thought we were picking up hope there for a second, but looks like motor going to expire there. Rob Keller going to join that ever-growing list behind the wall and put us back under yellow here. 14 laps of 107, and just hoping now. I think we're just hoping and praying from here for a little bit of green flag racing as Caleb Lingle has led all the laps in the 113. He leads over Keith McLean, Jordan McGregor, Kevin Roy, Harry Codian. That's our top 5. We'll pause here. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with the restart. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here live from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. All right, back here live at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Full Velocity Racing Network. Getting ready to go back green flag racing. 16 laps of 107. Been slowed by 3 yellow flags. The chase standings right now, well, we're going to standings in front of us of the 16 drivers on that list, Blake. I count 8 of them have already been involved in some kind of wreck, but damage to their race car. That makes for a long night for the other 8 that have survived so far. You're probably going to think at this point, we're just going to survive for the first half of this race and try to come home clean, because a good finish tonight, that may jolt you into the next round.
No doubt about it, and you got to think a lot of these guys that are kind of up in terms of how many points they have to start this round, guys like Herman Reese, KJ Kilojoules, Harry Cody, and Caleb Lingle, all these guys that have a little bit of an advantage entering this round, they're the ones that are doing okay. So these guys that are kind of at the back half of this field of 16, they got to be really worried right now, as again, we're only on lap 16 and already a lot of attrition is going to come into play tonight.
Absolutely right. Is a field off of turn number 4. Pace car is in. iRacing, I-flag, green flag returns to the air. Caleb Lingle, Keith McLean, Jordan McGregor, Kevin Roy, Harry Cody, and their single file top 5 headed toward turn 1.
Those top 5 headed down. And you can make it more of a 6-car breakaway right here. You can throw Spadafora in that as well to make it 7. Jordan McGregor, the newcomer in the 15, he gets a little bit loose off of turn 2. He'll try to dive it down back into turn 3 and keep up with those front 2 of McLean and Lingle. It seems like they have the fastest cars from what we've seen so far. And now a battle for the lead as McLean will dive it down to the inside of Lingle entering 1.
Yeah, and give that Texco Haviland number 28 the race lead off of turn number 2, as he's going to make that run off the quarter, put Caleb Lingle now back to second spot. Yeah, Jordan McGregor, newcomer to the Hobo Racing League, aboard car number 15. He's up there riding in position number 3. A guy said first night out in this series, has only run 3 previous races here at Hobo in their fixed setup series. After showing there really well, winning a couple of races, they invite him out here to the Cup Series tonight, trying his hand at open setups, and so far so good. 15 car showed a lot of speed in practice, but he is under pressure right now, Blake, from a veteran like Harry Cody. He is all over the back bumper of the 15 off of 2.
And Cody Ann's got a bit of a decent run here down the back straightaway. He'll see if he can dive it down and see how aggressive McGregor wants to play this. He'll dive it aggressively into turn 3, and McGregor will think better of it. He'll surrender that 3rd position to Harry Cody Ann, showing his stuff here early on. McGregor, as you said, a lot of speed in practice and obviously qualified very well. We'll see how much race speed that number 15 Ford has as the night goes along, but move Harry Cody Ann up to 3rd.
Got Harry on the move, as is Kevin Roy. He's had a good run tonight in the 77. He may be next to Trout's on the backside of that Folgers number 15 Ford of Jordan McGregor as they exit turn number 4, nose to tail here for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Nose to tail for the race lead. Keith McLean over Caleb Lingle. A little bit of a race going on back here for about 7th on back, where Brendan Spadafora, Rich Napick, and teammate Jeff Fugate right there behind on that bright green number 9. They're mixing it up through the field off of turn 2.
Fugate and San Diego continuing a 2-wide battle that has continued for roughly a lap and a half. We'll see if Fugate is able to make work of that 22 this time. He does, as Jason San Diego will check up a little bit on the high side. He'll surrender another spot to the 029 of KJ Kilojoules. He'll shut it off before Ricky Bumbleow can take advantage, so move Jason San Diego back to P11 as Fugate and KJ on the march.
Yes, they are. They are starting to carve their way up to the field, and that's 2 really good hot shoes right there. That bright green number 9, that yellow and black number 29. Here comes KJ Hill up to the low side of the speedway over at turn 3. Fugate going to stay up the high lane. He's in the momentum rolling up there. KJ trying to keep that throttle down low. You can almost see it there, Blake. The way these cars really abrasive on the tires on the low side. What we thought was a great run for KJ down through the corner. He had to let up because he just couldn't use washing up the racetrack, couldn't carry that momentum off. Versus the high lane right now, maybe harder on the tires in the long run, but short burst, high side going to be pretty good.
Well, KJ entering really low. He's trying to give Fugate enough racing room right now. Too early on in this race. We've already seen a lot of issues for these guys as they'll both get a little loose off of turns 3 and 4. But right now, at least from what I'm seeing, it looks like turns 1 and 2, the bottom is where it's at. You can get a good run on the bottom. You can carry that momentum and kind of climb up turn 2. And in 3 and 4, it looks like that middle to that high side is where you're going to get all that momentum running off the corner. As KJ is showing us how it's done here, he makes up 2 spots as he goes by Fugate and the 6 of Rich Knappich. So move KJ Kilojoules. He's putting on a march, and he's looking ahead to that 37 Chevrolet. Actually, Ford, excuse me, a really beautiful Ford, kind of paying homage to Bill Elliott there with that Mac Tonight paint scheme.
Old school. That is a nice look at 37 there for Brendan Spadafora. Brendan right now holding on to the 7th position, but he has a group behind, including Kilojoules back there. Good race going on with Rich Knappich at the number 6. Ricky Bumbalow's number 85 down to the inside. That is racing for the 9th spot. Give it to the gas smoking machine, that Greenaway 85. Ricky Bumbalow having a strong one early. He's up to 9th, heading toward turn 1.
He'll clear Knappich for the 9th spot as the 6 car looks like it's reeling here, losing a little bit of speed here on the high side. And just as we're saying that, Jason Sandiego made his way by him, but somewhere on the track, we once again have brought out another yellow flag. Caution flag is out once again here tonight. That was the best green flag run we had seen thus far, but it looks like I think some tire tracks in turn 4 tells me that at least that's the location of this latest accident, Phil.
It may indeed be, as we saw Steve Grant go a lap down in the 11 there at the time of yellow. May put him back in the lead lap. Not quite sure. Let's see what we see over here. 1 and 2. Jack will probably find this thing before I do, or maybe even Blake will probably get a peek at this one as well. But let's see. I see Carter 66. He's going straight. Let's see what else we may find. Mavericks back here with 23. Looks like he is good. I'm not seeing anything that may contribute to a yellow flag, but that's just one blind announcer's take on it, Blake. I'm not sure if you found something or not. The only thing I really see was the 11 of Steve Grant kind of kissed the outside wall off of 4. May have really saw in front of the field. Now Jack saying number 61 of Ralph Pauly. That's where the caution flag is going to come from. What happened to the U.S. Navy Chevrolet, Blake?
Well, it looks like Pauly was right behind Herman Reese running in the 18th position, and it looks like somebody wanted that 18th spot. It was Daniel Dupuis. Looks like he thought he had a run down the front straightaway. He definitely did. Carried that momentum into turn number 1, and it looks like when he peeked to the inside of that 61 machine, the 61 wasn't expecting it, as well as Daniel Dupuis came up the track just a little bit, entered a little high. That's going to send the 61 right into the outside retaining wall here in turns 1. He skips along the wall, gets some heavy damage there in that America's Navy Dodge, and that brings out a caution flag on what was the longest sustained green flag run of the night, but another wreck here in the back of the field. We'll put it into that.
Now, we take a peek back there through that wreck, Blake, and it's something that we had a really good debate about after our race on Saturday night over at TDR the other night, and that is just go back and take a look at this one. You see the 24 with that, lane down low trying to make his way to the corner. You have the 61 of Pauly who's setting up his arc for the corner. Who is really at fault for an incident like that? We debated that for hours the other night. You go back and look at that wreck. Does a 24 have what we call position there to make that move down low? Or does he have to go on at the 61 yet? Him not being to that left rear corner and allowing that 61 to arc the corner. What's your take on something like that?
That's always a tough one because I know just from my personal experience, I can sympathize pretty well with the 24 Daniel Dupuis. He definitely did have a run going into turn number 1. I can look up at the speed monitor here and see that Daniel Dupuis was going 196 into turn 1 and the Pauly was going 191 down into 1. So a 5 mile per hour difference there. The 24 definitely has a run. I think it's just kind of... I hate to say it, but I think it's just kind of a racing deal. You have Daniel Dupuis, who obviously had a run, probably could have given the 61 more room and entered a little bit lower into the corner, but you also have Pauly, who was right against the outside wall and kind of arched the corner probably a little bit earlier than he should. Not to block the 24, but at least to kind of maybe deter him from going for that spot, but he was already there. That's just a tough call, Phil. I hate it when things are kind of deemed racing deals, but I think if there ever was one, that's a perfect situation right there.
I got to agree, and I'm hopefully Jack's listening to that one, because he always tells me when you look back at one of these things and have to make a call, it's always the fault of somebody. Because racing wrecks don't happen. 2 guys drive a car, and one's usually at fault, but we will leave to that one. I guess as Todd would say a little bit, we call here, you make the call. Who's at fault for that one? Either way, both cars going to the back of the field, and we'll regroup here. 29 laps of 107. Looks like some of the race leaders are basically the entire group of the race lead have all kind of decided, Blake, to come down the pit road, and 29 laps in for drivers who have yet to come down there. probably getting a little bit to the end toward that fuel window after all those early yellow flags, so probably not a bad time for guys like Caleb Lingo, Keela Jules, and the Keith McLeans of the world to come down and put 4 fresh tires on that, and even more importantly, stack that thing full of fuel.
Well, and I think a lot of these guys, you have to think of it as well. This is kind of a mix right here of the old point system and the modern point system. So for those of you fans of Hobo Racing, which many of you already are, but for those who aren't as familiar, I'll go ahead and explain it. So these guys are testing out a new chase, playoff, whatever you want to call it, format this year. These guys still use the older scoring system when it comes to individual races. So if you can think back to 2003, 2004 era, you get about 180 points for winning, 5 points for leading the most laps, and what have you. But they've changed their format to where they go to the regular round of 16, round of 12, round of 8 eliminations where they pick off 4 guys each round. Well, for guys that are running around under caution and maybe not having that great of a race, what better way to make up 5 points than to just pit a lap after the leaders and get 5 extra bonus points running under caution? You never know how those points will make a difference, especially when you're only separated by about 40, 50 points, whereas in this old format, that's not a huge gap right there. So all those points can make a big difference. And I think it was Randy Smith and Maverick who were looking to do that, as I believe it was Randy Smith who was able to lead a couple of laps. He's a guy that is competing for the chase tonight, so I don't really blame him. That's 5 extra points he gets to put in his back pocket. And, if you do that over 3 races, that's 15 extra points.
Yeah, absolutely right. And those go a long way, as you would say, even with the old school system. That 40-point gap is not something you can't overcome. And, it's about 5 positions right in the top 10. So we'll have to wait and see. But we have the pace car off the racetrack. We're going to go back to racing. iRacing, I flag, green flag returns to the speedway on lap number 31. Caleb Lingo going to lead over Keith McLean, Jordan McGregor, Harry Cody, and Kevin Roy. Pretty accurate top 5. That's been pretty stable all night long. The only change there is put the 13 car back up to the 4th spot. McGregor restarting in the 3rd position. Let's see if he can't keep that speed over the course of the run. But all we do know, Lingo versus McLean, just as we left them, they lead the field off of 4.
They lead the field right now. McLean gluing it to the bottom of the racetrack. Lingle, he'll move up top and try to get a little bit more momentum on exit. But right now, McLean trying to stay right in the draft line of that 113 as they'll go down into turn 1. And again, these guys looks like they're able to stick it pretty well on the bottom. I like Lingle, though. He is diving down to the bottom and kind of drifting the car up towards the racetrack. I think that's going to bode well for him, saving tires, not having to turn the car to stick it to the bottom on exit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look at the speed it's carrying there off the corner. Put Keith McLean now. I think that was Keith McLean's car up to the race leaders. I somehow ended up in the infield there for a second. Lingo going to hold on over McLean there at the line. McGregor running in the 3rd spot. I was taking a peek over here to Facebook Live, and why the heck not? Because stream looks absolutely dazzling over there. We see our old friends Bob Tompkins out there. Danny Hardy checking in. Danny was on that list of 16, Blake, coming in for a championship. Danny, unfortunately, not feeling too well tonight. Not going to make the call. So, Danny, I'm glad you're out there watching, man. Hope you're feeling better. Hope we'll catch up with you again soon. And also, I got to say hey to Andy Bargo. Andy's always a guy who's got me on the edge of my seat. Thanks for tuning in there, buddy. As we have a race for the lead, we have a race for 3rd. A couple of spots changing to the top 5. Blake, off of 2.
They were too wide for 1st and 2nd. They were too wide for 3rd and 4th. We have a couple of changes there as Keith McLean moves into the lead and Harry Codian moves by the 15th of McGregor. He'll move up to that 3rd spot. And I got to tell you what, Phil, that number 13 Chevrolet, they have made some good adjustments on that race car. He is chasing down the leaders. He ran a 28.553 that last time by. That's his fastest lap of the race, and that is much better than any time that Lingle or McLean has put down. So that 13 right now is on rails, and he'll try to make up 2nd here on Lingle. Lingle will surrender it, so Harry Codian marching here towards the front as he moves into 2nd place.
Yeah, absolutely does. Almost uses that lap car of Steve Grant almost as a pick as he motors up to that 2nd spot. And Harry's a guy, if you've ever seen him race over the years, these bigger tracks of the super speed race, especially bigger racetracks, 1.5 miles, big, wide open, very fast like Las Vegas Motor Speedway, almost fall into the lap of somebody like Harry Codian, a guy who is really good at high speeds, has a really good car underneath him, and he's going to attempt to run down one of the best with Keith McLean up front, the number 28. But Harry, as you said, we don't have the I guess we go back and look and see who's got the fastest lap of the race. I would almost bet right there it's going to be that number 13.
And again, another lap, another 28.5 for Harry Cody. And Keith McLean, though, he's put down his own 28.5 as well. And it's actually McLean now who has claim, no pun intended, to the fastest lap of the race at 28.518. And he's doing that from the lead. So no draft there for the 28 Haviland Ford as he tries to continue to pull out front. So if you're Harry Codian right now, maybe you think the 28 using up his tires a little bit, you want to stay in that draft, make the 28 work, maybe see what you can give these guys later in the run. It seems like we're kind of spreading out. We may be headed for some green flag racing here. So again, you just want to take care of your tires, see if there's any advantage you can gain on fuel, because with where we restarted with about 31 or on lap 31 of 107. So that's right around that fuel window where things could get a little bit interesting here if we go green to the end of this race.
And that's why I love having the insights of a guy like Blake McCandless up here at Full Velocity, because it's a guy who's won a lot of races in this sim over the years, really, understands the way to save fuel, way to manage his equipment, and I'm really happy you're a part of the family here, Blake. Really bring a lot of great insight into these shows. As said, I believe you're right. I believe this race almost feels like we have a pretty extended green flag run ahead of us, all basically single file, all inside the top 10 as it's kind of all sorting out. The best race you can find back here is about 11th on back, where we find a guy like Daniel Dupuis. You got Ron Simpson back there, Wiley King, Jeff Fugate. Those are probably the four closest cars together, but that's racing outside of the top 10 for about 11th off of 4.
They're racing for 11th, but again, every position matters, especially when you get to this stage in the season. Fugate, he'll surrender 13th as Wiley King. He'll make that move to the inside, and Fugate now he'll try to get it back as he'll dive it down into 3. The 95 moves up the track for him a little bit. They both kind of check up off of 4, and Fugate not going to be able to complete that pass. Again, I think 1 and 2, you want to run the bottom, and 3 and 4, you almost want to run that middle groove because it is very hard to pass on the bottom here in turns 3 and 4.
It really is. That's always been typical here in Las Vegas as things really kind of start to, the track really, odds out there, really, the banking there, the wall, it gets thinner. I don't know the word I'm looking for there. It gets skinnier through the corner. I said, you ever hear get skinny? Well, it kind of does. You really have to, that thing run down low for 3 and 4 to keep a good rate of speed as we kind of all sorted out for the time being. I'm just trying to find some good racing action, maybe a little bit of spots changing, and I'm all the way back here at about 16th or 17th before I find a race between Troy Donahue and the number 85 of Ricky Bumbalo. Ricky was the guy who was up there in top 10 a little while ago. He is mired back in traffic. The Gas Monkey Machine Blake currently now running in position number 16, and he's got some work to do in early top 10 car as we approach halfway. Has to motor his way back to the field.
And things got really interesting there between Bumbalo and the 61. Or actually, no, it was not the 61. It was the 81 of Donahue as Bumbalo moved up the racetrack, nearly got into the 81. Some clean, hard racing right there. The 81 checks out of it. He's now fallen back to position number 20. But a lot of these guys, you say guys like Bumbalo, Polly, and Napick, really starting to make some ground up on these guys that are right in front of them. When we talk about Fugate, those guys that are right outside the top 10. It seems like you could throw a blanket over about 10 through 20 if you're running very similar lap times compared to the rest of the field.
They really are. We'll try to get your back up for you here. Looks like Jack had something pop up in the end, probably knocked the stream down off the desktop here, so we'll let him get kind of back sorted. We'll do his regular spot for a couple of laps. Leading over Caleb Lingle, Harry Cody Jordan McGregor, Kevin Roy, our top 5. Jess Canis running in 6th. Jason San Diego 7th, Gary Moore in his 8th, Keela Jules is 9th, Brendan Spadafora rounding out the top 10. 11th will be Ron Simpson, 12th for Daniel Dupuis, 13th Jeff Fugate, Wiley King is 14th, Herman Reese, championship contender back there running in the 15th position with Ricky Bumbalo back there 16th, Ralph Pauly, Rich Napick, Steve Rubino, Troy Donahue round out the top 20 by Bob Gibson, Ryan back at 21st. Randy Smith having an off night in the hard line, number 10, he's 22nd, Andy is 23rd. Maverick, another guy running for a championship, finds himself all the way back at 24th. 1 lap down, we find Steve Grant, that number 11, he's going to want it in the back of that car. He's 1 lap down, running 25th. Danny Rubino, he is 2 laps down, 26th. Brett Carter runs 27th, he is 3 laps down. unfortunately, the rest of the field, like already behind the wall, playing through the legs of Brock Keller, Brian Porter, Johnson, Duke Sorensen, Eddie Rayleigh, and Rick Craddock. So as we approach halfway, 47 of 107 on the board, we've seen some early yellow flags, but as we said, it feels like a long, nice green flag run going on, and I think we're 16 laps into one right now. This may be far and away our best, longest green flag run of the evening.
Well, Phil, I think it's a perfect chance to showcase Caleb Lingle and how good of a long-run car that he has. He has moved back into the lead, passing that 28 machine of Keith McLean. So Caleb Lingle biding his time, saving his equipment, and he has already made it by the 28 Ford of McLean. Harry Codian, who we just saw make a thundering charge through the field up to almost take the lead. He has fallen off a little bit from these two leaders, so Codian may have run out that right front tire here on this long run. I think Lingle and McLean is kind of showing everybody right now some great long run speed. As we'll look at last time by Harry Codiano. McLean gets loose in turn one, in trouble. McLean's in the outside retaining wall as he got loose in front of the lap car of Maverick. He gets drilled here in turn number two. Caution flag is out on the speedway as Keith McLean running second. He gets loose into turn number two. That John Deere Chevrolet runs right into the back of him, nowhere to go, and the caution flag is out. Heavy damage on the Haviland Ford as he gets drilled by another car trying to make its way by the accident. We'll see what car that is. That's going to be the 11 of Steve Grant, who drills the 28 of McLean. So big changes here as one of our leaders is now probably done for the evening.
That car is maybe not destroyed, but man, there is damage to all four corners of that thing. It's certainly not going to be aerodynamically sound. Keith McLean from the up there in that second spot, a guy running for a championship as well. Knight goes upside down on lap number 50. That car is absolutely destroyed. Steve Grant's 11 car, no, he was already a little worse for the wear. Looks like his car even more beat up. It looks like the 11 going to pull that thing straight behind the wall. So tough break there. Mavericks 23 already beat up, got a little bit more damage on that one. So, but the big story is, Blake, that number 28 of Keith McLean was running in second, led some laps early, and just making his way on the lap car of Maverick. I mean, Maverick was doing nothing wrong. Keith's car down low. Just looks like he just lost all the back end, lost all traction, and it was on from there, and that car was just completely destroyed.
Oh, no doubt, Phil. Well, there's really two ways you can try and save a race car when it's that loose. You can either overcorrect and kind of chase it up the wall and maybe even use a little bit of the wall to help save the car. And then there's the other way you can do it that Keith McLean tried. He thought he was in second, had plenty of room behind him. That's to kind of hit the brakes, check up a little bit, and just try to collect it before the tail end of that car goes around too far. And unfortunately for McLean, when he tried that, Maverick, the 23 John Deere Chevrolet, was right behind him. There's just nowhere to go, nothing that Maverick could have done. And then unfortunately, McLean sitting on the track is all good, but another car comes by, and again, nowhere to go for Steve Grant either. He runs into the 28, and that's where a great majority of the damage that's on that Haviland Ford is going to come from. Is now Keith McLean was sitting pretty for a good majority of this race, and now he's going to try and fight, scratch, and claw just to try to get a decent finish. If that pit crew will even fix that car, I wonder, as he pulls around here looking at him entering the pits, how long he's going to be repairing that car, or if they'll repair that car at all. It looks like the right side tires are in the air, so it looks like he'll be able to stay in this race at least for a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing looks like it may resemble a Whelen modified by the time they're done, too. Front end destroyed, back end completely tore up. You can see all four wheels. I mean, you look at the back of the race car, it almost looks like one of those big modified tires back there as they stick completely outside both the rear quarter panels. You even pushed up back through the door even. So, yeah, that 28 now, which was a really nice Ford Mustang, Blake. Well, it now could almost be like a Ford Focus out there, as beat up as that thing is. Or a Jack saying a Pinto, that may be even better. A Ford Pinto. Remember a Pinto, Blake? I mean, you're a little younger than we are, but got any recollection of the Ford Pinto?
Not too much, but I can imagine that it's a car that is all crumbled up. And Keith McLean, actually, that last time by under caution, he kind of gave it a test, obviously, with these open setups. That car pretty much looks like a modified now. Obviously still has the nose on it, but does not have any rear end on the race car. That obviously makes it a lot looser. So I think he actually tried a test there in 3 and 4, try to just kind of give it a whirl just to see how loose it was so he could come down, get some more tires, and perhaps make a wedge adjustment on that car to really gauge how loose or tight it is. If you're McLean right now, have to imagine that car is not going to be up to full song when we get under the green flag. So you're just going to want that thing to handle to where you're not going to spin out or do anything worse, and just try to salvage a decent day out of this. A lot of other guys have had trouble, so all hope is not lost. But again, with this point system, not having stages, this really hurts guys if you're not able to make it to the end of the checkered flag, and unfortunately that's going to happen with Keith McLean.
No, and we said we've already got 2 of our championship 16 out of this one. Steve Grant, Duke Sorensen, they were out early. Keith McLean's car definitely wounded down. Mavericks 23 is beat up. Guys like Kevin Roy, looks like 77, maybe for the most part okay. Randy Smith, anything but with a 10 car. He's got some damage. That's a group of championship contenders that are all running right now about 20th on back. So that just kind of shows you what we've dealt with here the first 53 laps. As we, guess we could say we're officially halfway here next time by as lights go out. I believe around the speed of this time off of 4, I do believe. I see a car coming down toward pit road. It's definitely not the pace car. The light's still on. I believe they're going to go out this time by at the line. Caleb Lingo going to lead Harry Cody in. Jordan McGregor, Jeff Stakanis in the top 5. And look who rounds out the 5th spot. That black Cadillac, number 73 of Herman Reese, was collected early. Thought he was going to have a rough night ahead. You look now, a veteran like Herman figures out how to survive. He runs to the top 5, but he has brought the caddy down on pit road. So I thought he was going to have track position for the restart. I guess I was wrong.
Well, it looks like Herman just doing a solid job again here. We got about 54 laps to go in this thing, so these guys are going to be able to make it on one pit stop. And Herman, obviously a guy that with the damage he has, he's probably trying to do the same strategy that we were talking about earlier, get 5 points for leading a lap. I guess that's pretty much all you can do when you're kind of mired back in 20th and the car's so damaged you can't really move up from there. So still trying to salvage some points and do everything he can to try to get as much out of this race is Herman Reese. We commend him for that, but we'll turn it over to Caleb Lingle once again. He's leading this field. We'll see if Harry Codian has a little bit of long run speed to match that 113 as the green flag is out once again, and Lingle will lead them into turn 1.
Yes, he does. Down in the first turn we go. Harry Codian right in tow. Jordan McGregor, the newcomer to the series, 4 running in the 3rd spot. Jeff Stakanis now. Jason San Diego, the number 22 Dodge, up in the top 5. And we'll see if we walk back here early to see if these guys have a little bit of time to warm up the tires. And I guess the answer already going to be no, as we already had that yellow hanky back over the field. Yellow, yellow, yellow on the racetrack again. I see more smoke. I see some cars that look like maybe a little bit more wrinkled up than they already were. And it's going to give Jack another peek at a BladeNo.com full velocity instant replay. And I believe the Navy may have been called on this one too. I think Ralph Pauly's number 61 maybe got a teensy-weensy bit loose, and from where I'm sitting, I don't believe he had a contact from behind from Wiley King. I believe there was plenty of space between. I think the 61 car went for what could have potentially been a selfie. The only problem is he wasn't all the way up the racetrack, and it collected a couple more cars.
Well, in all honesty, not too much damage for the 61. He's obviously the culprit here. He gets down into turn 1, and again, on these cold tires, he just loses the back end of the race car. Takes a very gentle spin, barely brushes the outside wall. Daniel Dupuis will take a spin in reaction as well as Herman Reese, but all said, not too much damage for either of these guys. Nobody was hard hit there, so we do get the yellow flag, but I think everybody's going to be okay. Just put 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles on it, and everybody will be up to full song. So a caution flag here once again, but fortunately nobody is going to be reeling from that or lose any horsepower out of that accident.
Absolutely. As we go back and take a look at that BladeNo.com instant replay there. Yeah, I think that could have been a lot worse. It looked like it was a lot worse right away, and I think potentially could have been a lot worse than it was, as 61 is a little bit loose. The 95 Wiley King makes a little bit of contact, just brushes the outside wall. 24 makes an evasive spin, so what really could have been a lot worse than it was may have come out relatively okay, but we slow the field back down on lap number 56. Maybe allow these drivers to come back toward pit road, make another bit of adjustment, maybe some more damage to work out of the race car. So we'll let them do that. We'll take a pause for the cause. 56 laps of 107. Your source for esports racing, the Full Velocity Racing Network. We'll be right back. All right, selfie sticks in hand, and we get back to it live here on Full Velocity as Michelle's out there saying, give that guy a selfie stick, and lots of spooling on my end. What the heck is going on over there? I see Danny Rubino out there watching as well, chatting in. Roger Nebel6 over there, and conspicuous by his absence, I got a text here about 10 minutes ago, Blake, our good buddy Bobby Farrell, who's usually a staple out here on Tuesday night. I think he got stuck working tonight because I got the text saying, hey, I wish I was watching, but he says go Jet Nation, as Brendan's got probably the most loyal cult following out here today in our 2003 37 car, having a good run tonight so far, running in the 7th spot, 58 laps, so 107 in the book. So as we get ready to rock and roll back to it, Blake, we can report 37 is all as well, and I'm glad even Bobby, not even out there chatting, at least acknowledging, hey, I'm missing a broadcast and I'm sad. Does anybody love this community more than Bobby Farrell?
I don't think so. You can just about post anything on Facebook and he'll like it just out of principle, but we'll talk about that later. Green flag is back out here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Lap 59 of 107 is what will complete this time by. Caleb Lingle leads them down into turns 1 and 2. Once again, Harry Codian in second, Jordan McGregor in third. How about Jeff Stakness moving that Dodge up into the 4th spot, and same with Jason San Diego. Those challengers looking solid as they round out the top 5.
I'll tell you what, it looks good to have a couple of Dodgers up there with top 5. I think I've piloted a Dodge out there before. Blake, Dodge is something very near and dear to you, so it's got to make you feel good to see the old Dodge colors up there flying in the top 5. 2 good ones with Stacanis and Jason San Diego, but don't look now behind that 22 car too much, because you're going to find a bright yellow and black number 29 Camaro. KJ Kilojoules is on the move. I've been watching him kind of just drive up through this field a little bit at a time, minding his time, kind of quietly sneaking up if you can. He is right to the back of a 22, and we're going to race it off. Battle for the 5th spot over toward turn 1.
Well, battle for the 5th spot. We had a lead change here. Caleb Lingle actually has to get out of the gas. Harry Codian took the lead that last time by. Caleb Lingle, he'll take the lead back from that 13 Chevrolet. I'm telling you what, Phil, Harry Codian in that 13 car, he has got some amazing short run speed. We know how many of these races typically have some short runs as Jason San Diego gets loose off of turn 4, but they're able to keep it green. That was a hairy moment there for San Diego and the rest of this field. It allows these top 4 cars to get quite a distance between the rest of the pack, but luckily everybody keeping it straight and keeping it green here in Las Vegas.
And the big loser on that was the number 29 Kilojoules. He was right there behind the 22. He had to let out of it. He lost probably about 5 or 6 spots. So tough break there for KJ. I was kind of thinking he was going to make the run for 5th, and 22 had to check up there out of the gas, save the race car, and sometimes you got to do the right thing by rolling out of it and not causing any more carnage to somebody else's night. Great, classy move there by the 29. But as you said, that has allowed that top 4 to really break away. Caleb Lingle, Harry Codian, Jordan McGregor, Jeff Stacanis, the 31 car. That is a pretty fast 4-car breakaway up front. You got to go back all the way back to about 3 seconds before you find that number 22, Jason San Diego, running in 5th. But I think that gap may be a little bit too big between himself and the 31. I think we can certainly say top 4 are broken away. There is no stiff in that 5th place car.
No doubt about it, but it's created some great racing here from 6th on back. We just saw Ricky Bumbleow about lose control of his car on the front straightaway. He was kind of rocking between the apron and the groove with those left side and right side tires, about got out of it. Had to check up pretty good to save that race car, but how about Fugate? He is kind of trying to march in that Sundrop Dodge and try to run down Jason San Diego. KJ Kilojoules right behind him. He'll make the move and take over the 7th spot from the 25 of Ron Simpson, who slides up the racetrack, nearly hits the outside wall. He'll lose 2 more spots before it's all said and done, as it's Wiley King and Ricky Bumbleow making their way on by.
Absolutely did. Tough little sledding there right now for that 25 of Ron Simpson. Ron's one of those 16 drivers out there racing for a championship as well through this chase, which started out first chase race of the season, sits here tonight at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We'll have the rest of the season here live every Tuesday night on your source for esports race. Hope we're going to have it there anyway, barring anything unforeseen going on. We'll talk to my partner here off air after this, because I may see something down the line I may need him to pick up for me. So we'll get that figured out. We'll cover Hobo the rest of the season. If we all can possibly do it, we'll be here for the rest of it. But Caleb Lingle, Harry Codian, Jordan McGregor, Jeff Stacanis, they have broken away up front. Good race back here, though, between Jason San Diego, Jeff Fugate's there, KJ Keela Jules. They have all got back together within a car length of each other. It's a good race going on for the 4th spot heading toward turn 3.
And Fugate made a couple of laps of work out of Jason San Diego. KJ trying to make just a turn of work over Fugate. Not going to be able to get it done as Jason San Diego. He'll fall back in line after losing 2 spots. He'll fall back into position number 7. But that 029 Camaro still looking strong, trying to pressure Fugate into 1. Not able to do it this time, but Fugate going to slide up the racetrack. Kilojoules gets a little bit loose in 1 and 2. He'll get the run down the long Nellis straightaway here at Las Vegas. He's got a nose, and he'll go to the bottom here in 3.
Sure will. That car down to the bottom side of the racetrack. Fugate gonna drive, thought he was going to go back at the throttle hard there through 3 and 4. He kind of let the 29 have the spot, and also opens the door for Jason San Diego's 22 car down low. That's racing now from the 6th spot. Looks like give it to a 22 as we exit turn 2, as I thought Fugate again. Car really turns good through the middle. I think right now, and Jeff's a guy we've seen win a lot of races over the years, I tell you. A guy who, he reminds me a lot the way you run these cars, Blake. He really saves his stuff well. Maybe not a big player here early, but that bright green Sundrop car, if I know Fugate at all, he is saving a little bit in there. I can't imagine Jeff Fugate's not a factor for at least a top 3 finish before we're done here this evening.
We may as well see that as we've gotten a good run going right here. Still 38 laps to go, rather, as we're on lap 70 of lap 107. That'll make up this first race of the Hobo Chase here tonight. And again, we've still got some great racing going on here for the top 10. Right now, holding on to that 10th spot is Rich Napick. He's trying to hold off Steve Rubino and trying to chase that 95 of Wiley King, that 85 of Ricky Bumbalo, as these guys that are in the back of the pack starting to come up on lap traffic.
Oh, they sure are. One car was stuck up on the outside wall there off turn number 2, and it looked to me on the naked eye it was Wiley King. It was a red car. There might have been Danny Rubino up there. Somebody was stuck up on the wall there off turn number 2 with a little bit of what I guess we call that wall glue up there. So I'm not sure who it might have been, but definitely slowed down the works of the field. I was watching back here between that battle with Napick and Rubino, Ron Simpson back here, as well as Troy Donahue. I'm really just kind of studying the way these guys are approaching the racetrack right now. Up in front of the field, guys like Lingle and Cody Ann, those guys are still pretty much hard on the throttle as they have broken away up front from even Jordan McGregor and Jeff Stacanis now. I'm back here running around where the 21 car Rubino is, a 25 of Simpson. I hear these guys off the throttle for a long time, letting these cars roll through the corner. Is that there's 2 ways to skin a cat usually in a race here at Las Vegas. Have they abused their right front tire early? Are they just coasting it, saving for a long run? Can these guys up front stay aggressive with the speeds they're turning and able to last with this good run of tires here through this fuel run, I should say? Can they make it last running the speeds they are?
I think they can, Phil. We've seen time and time again that guys like Caleb Lingle are just able to build great setups and able to drive them really well. So it wouldn't surprise me if these guys continue to pull away here from this field despite going long into this run. I think what's going to be the main question, though, is tire fall off, not a whole lot here. We see a guy like Fugate. I'm looking at his lap times right now. His fastest lap of the race is a 28.7. He just ran a 28.9 that last time by. So it's not like you're falling off half a second up to a full second. You're still falling off a couple of tenths, though. What's going to be the key for these guys, because we said earlier, they're going to have to stop once. Who's going to short pit? Who's going to try and split this last run in half? And who's a guy that's in the back of the field that's going to try to stay out, maybe catch a caution and try to chap these guys a lap down? That's going to be the real call. And a guy like Kilojoules, who's running up here in the 5th spot, he's got quite a gap up to the 4th spot. He's got a second in front of him to 4th and another 2 seconds up to 3rd. He's a guy that's in a prime position to try and short pit, gain that track position back. And plus, he doesn't have a whole lot of pressure behind him, so if he pits too early and ends up not working out, you don't really lose any spots out of it.
No, I think that's a great call right there. I think that's something we can keep an eye on. But I look back here, Blake, you just mentioned KJ back there in the 5th spot. Oh, I'm telling you, it was 4.2 last time by. I think right now that 29, maybe even running times equal to or quicker than the race leader. Let's cap it this time by as we start finish line. 4 seconds flat there, 4.092. So he picked up 0.2 of a second at 29 right now, and basically clean air back there in fifth is starting to run down even the trace of the race leaders. He's going to sniff now about Jeff Stacanis. At the rate he's going, at maybe 2 laps to probably see the 29. He may be a contender to run up the 4th spot by the time we hit here on lap, we're 77 now in. So 30 laps remaining. Don't count that 29 yet out.
Absolutely not, Phil, but I'm going to move forward to this battle for the lead, and I think Harry Codian has changed up his driving style, perhaps made a couple of adjustments on that last pit stop. We saw Codian, that last long green flag run we had, he grabbed the lead early and started fading towards the end of the run. I think he's found more long run speed in that M4S Chevrolet Camaro because he is keeping pace at the very least with Caleb Lingle throughout this run. We see that last time by, loses about half a tenth, but is still able to maintain his distance with Caleb Lingle. This is going to be a crucial spot. Lingle's pretty much going to have to pit the lap after or right after Harry Codian, because if Codian comes down a lap or two early, he'll pass Lingle, and that's just going to have to force Lingle to work his way back around that 13 car, which we've already seen tonight has great short run speed.
Certainly does, but as this long run goes on, we'll have to wait and see where the cream rises to the top, and we can say we've had a change for that 4th spot now. Kilojoules around the 31 of Jeff Stacanis, so a 29 on the march. What was a couple of laps ago, 4.7 seconds is now down to an interval of 3.2, and that is ever shrinking there, Blake. It looks like right now KJ is 2 to 3 tenths quicker than our race leader Caleb Lingle as we work off turn 4.
Well, the other thing that we haven't really mentioned so much of, but there's plenty of lap traffic here with all the damaged cars that are running around this Las Vegas Speedway. That's another thing that Caleb Lingle and these leaders, as well as everybody in the field, is going to have to try and work their way around. That could perhaps be a reason that they're slowing down. That last time by, though, Kilojoules, I think you may be onto something, Phil. He really made up some ground that last time. That gap back to 3.1 seconds, and actually that 029 car just made its way by Ron Simpson, who has already made his way down pit road, so perhaps our first guy, and he's probably going to drag a couple of people with him here momentarily that are going to make a stop here, and I would presumably think get 4 tires and try to fill that fuel tank up with Sunoco fuel.
Yeah, 82 laps of 107 on the board. It kind of takes this little 50-lap run we've had here toward the end and maybe kind of splits it up in half, and I think that's what you're seeing guys like Ron Simpson do. I just saw Kevin Roy, the 77. He just went a lap down. Kevin back there in 21st position was thinking maybe he was making a run toward pit road. I was peeking at Herman Reese as well. So guys in the back end of the lead lap, I thought Ron may start a trend right there, but so far most of the field, Blake, all the entire field of the top 20 have all elected to stay out. Lingle leading Cody in. That gap is expanded over now to 1 second. You look back to third, Jordan McGregor having a terrific night here, his first night out in the series running third, but that looms large behind. KJ's number 29 is there. By the time we exit the quarter, that 29 may be running up to the 3rd spot.
Yeah, he's running up in 3rd right now as he'll lap the 77 machine of Kevin Roy, but boy, is he making up time. He has a fantastic long-run car, 29.2 that last time by for the 029, a 29.3 for our leader, and a 29.5, so he made up 0.3 of a second on Harry Codian. Is now that 13 starting to get in the windshield of that 029, but Phil, I don't think it'll be much longer before you see a lot of these leaders head their way onto pit road. Don't think we're in a situation where you're going to try to stretch it, maybe take a can or maybe take 2 tires to try and save some time. It's only going to be moments before you see these leaders on pit road, and this is a really tricky pit road to get on, Phil, because you have to get right off the banking and not a whole lot of time to get on the apron. Is there you see it, Harry Codian, he'll make his way on a pit road.
Yeah, sure does. He'll pit his way out of the 2nd spot. Just saw Brendan Spadafora down on pit road, Danny Rubino as well as Keith McLean. But let's take a peek at Harry Codian, who was running in the 2nd spot at the time, but had fallen off to about a 1.5 off the pace of the race leader Caleb Lingle. Let's take a look at that M4S Chevrolet as he heads down toward his pit stall. Let's see. You know, looks like he may have stopped a little bit short there. Right side tires going up there on the 13. So at least going to be 2 right sides. And I got to imagine at this point, you got to take 4 tires. And yeah, they're going to take 4 on that Chevrolet. So Harry Codian, you're going to take 4 tires. Quick work there. Looks like full of fuel as well. He is down the way, Blake.
He's down and away, and I was watching our other two leaders as they made their way onto pit road, and I'll tell you what, the 029 had a great entrance into pit road. He made up a little bit of time there on Caleb Lingle. If he doesn't come out of here with a speeding penalty, he may have made up a good amount of time on that 113 Ford, but we'll see. Left sides are in the air on the 029 Chevrolet. Looks like everything going as planned on that pit stop. He'll get out, and we'll see. Caleb Lingle here in that first pit stall, an advantage under caution, not so much an advantage here under the yellow flag, but it looks like Caleb Lingle, as they exit pit road, going to be able to maintain a pretty decent lead over that 029. Lingle doing a great job on pit road exit, keeping it right to the wall on this flat apron, and I'll have to say that Lingle definitely made up the time that the 029 gained on the entrance of pit road. He's pulled well off as Harry Codian goes by. Kilojoules will round it back out into third on this cycle, as we still have a couple of cars that have yet to come down pit road.
Yeah, including the likes of Gary Moore in the number 40. We'll take a peek at what the story is on the 40 car. Also, Herman Reese is yet to make his way pit side. Oh, Gary Moore is down there now. I see the Bud Light Chevrolet, so the race leader has pit his way out of the race lead. Rich Napick was running up in the third spot. We've seen the 6 car down. Herman Reese down here as well. 40 and 73 pitted right together, both getting 4 tire service on the 40 is done. Little bit of damage to work out on the back end of the 73, so I take a couple of taps of that. Herman Reese, a little bit of extended pit stop. He's losing a lot of time down there on pit road.
Oh, he certainly is, and you don't want to see that. If I were him, you have the option to turn off the damage repair. I would do it as quick as possible, because every second you're sitting here on pit road, you're just losing precious time, especially here under green flag conditions. So Herman Reese reeling in that car, I'm sure, as that pit crew will try to get him back onto the racetrack. They finally do. But as we've cycled through pit stops, it's still Caleb Lingle, Harry Codian, KJ Kilojoules in third, Jordan McGregor in fourth, Jeff Stakanis in fifth, Fugate is in sixth, Jason San Diego in seventh, Ron Simpson in eighth, Ricky Bumbelow ninth, and then Rich Napick rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, and Blake, I do have the story from pit road on the 73. We saw the extended pit stop. Well, it was not for damage. Herman Reese missed
a
the
black
commitment
flag
cone. Yep, 30-second penalty on the number 73. So a championship contender here tonight, having an off night, some damage early on. Herman Reese, a rare mistake from the Cadillac. 30-second penalty. That puts you behind the 8 ball. Herman back there now, 1 lap down, maybe 2 laps down. 2 laps down back in 22nd. You can't make mistakes on pit road, especially on that money stop. And Caleb Lingle, great work by the 113 team. He leads the field by over 1 second now. Back to Harry Codian, but don't count out the 29. KJ's up there. It's a second and a half between. They may have draft for those second and third place cars that may help to aid to run down that 113 up front.
I was about to say, if I was the 029 right now, of course, as a racer, you always want to be ahead of the car in front of you, but I have to think you need to almost make a pact right now with that 13 of Harry Codian and say, hey, if I get behind you and we'll draft together, we can both try to catch Caleb Lingle, and then it's all bets off from there. The gloves are off. We'll see what we can do to try and win this race individually. But right now, you need to work together, because if you battle side by side, not only are you going to slow yourselves down, you're going to get out of the draft of the 113. So that's almost a race-killing move. So right now, if I'm the 029 or the 13, I'm committed to running down that 113, and then we'll have at it from there.
Well, I know they're committed to running him down. I think they basically run him down from here as we hit the about the line. It was 8/10 last time by. It's down to, 0.58 there. So they picked up about 2.5 tenths on that one. So I would say the 13 to the 29, they have run down. We have a 3-car break up front. We find Jordan McGregor having a terrific night. The number 15 running in the 4th spot, but all the way down back 7.7 seconds last time by. These top 3 have put some work in, Blake, as we work lap number 94 of 107. So we're under 15 laps to go. The final pit stops that are done. The question we have left here is who has that big speed to motor their way onto victory lane?
I mean, I got to pick a favorite right now. It's probably KJ. He has run these guys down from a couple seconds back, didn't have the track position that Caleb Lingle and Harry Codian enjoyed on our last restart, and has still managed to run his way up into the lead. So I'm telling you what, he definitely has a great chance to win this race, but you also have to keep in mind, not as long of a run here as we go down the stretch. These guys are only running about 20 laps or so in this final run, and it was around lap 25 to 30 that we really saw that 029 Chevrolet come to life. So again, these guys, it's not going to play out too much into the long run for KJ here. He's going to have to take advantage of the short run speed he hopefully made on some of those adjustments on pit road to try and make his way up.
Yeah, and he's making advantage of it now off turn number 4 as he's to the low side of Harry Codian. He's got the lap car up ahead. That's the 37 of Brendan Spadafora falling down one lap down back there in the 15th spot. And look at KJ use that lap car perfectly, pins the 13 behind, put KJ now up to the second spot, and he's got 5 car lengths to run down. 113 Caleb Lingle up ahead as they continue now to work through some more lap traffic. The likes of Troy Donahue, he's next in line there in the 81.
Donahue next in line. As again, the laps continue to wind down. We will update you continually throughout this night with our score bug being down. We're now on lap 98 of 107, so 10 laps remaining here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for Caleb Lingle. First round of the Hobo Chase here tonight at Las Vegas, and Caleb Lingle doing an outstanding job. Again, if he wins this race, he's automatically through to the round of 12, and there has to be a lot of stress, a lot of weight lifted off the shoulders of whoever is able to end up in victory lane tonight. He'll pass the lap cars of what was once a race contender, Keith McLean, as he goes down, and he'll head here into turn number 3. But Phil, that 029, he is marching and all over the back bumper of the 113.
He certainly is. 3 car lengths as they work their way through traffic. As you said, they put Maverick another lap down of the 23 car. Another lap car up ahead as we work our way down toward turn number 1. 113 going to drop low. 29 on the prow. That is Donahue's 81 car up against the wall. Troy Donahue now going to lose his way off the lead lap. Troy having a really good run of the 14th spot, but
trouble in turn 2. Trouble in turn 2. It's going to be Troy Donahue who goes around. He catches the outside retaining wall off of 2, and it looks like perhaps a gear issue or something. He was stuck into the outside wall, and randomly the tires spun on that machine. He tags another car along. It's the second place running car of Harry Codian who gets involved in that accident. So big trouble, big news here on the back straightaway here as the laps continue to wind down. Caution flag is out, and that is the last thing, Phil, that Caleb Lingle wanted to see.
No, absolutely not. That's going to bring KJ right to his back bumper. But the biggest break there, Blake, the 13 of Harry Codian caught up in that issue there with the 81. Takes a hit off the right rear, front end of the race car into the wall. You got to imagine he's going to have some damage. What was a contending car for the race win of Harry Codian may have just completely went up in smoke as we hit the century mark. Now 101 laps of 107 on the board. We're going to have under 5 laps remaining. The last restart of the night should be upcoming here in a couple of laps.
It should be. We'll see where he cycles out right now. Codian, despite some of that damage, still in the 6th spot. So this is a really tough call if you're in that 13 car. Again, as we've mentioned before, there is no overtime or any extra restarts here at the Hobo Racing League, unlike what you would see in modern day NASCAR. These guys, as soon as lap 107 is reached, even if it's under the yellow flag, this race is over. So if you're Harry Codian, despite all the damage you have, you're still running in 6th. I think you got to stay out and just try to limp this thing home, try to salvage a top 10 out of it, because pitting right here, you'd lose a lot of track position, and obviously it's just going to take too much time to fix all that damage. There's only 13 cars on the lead lap anyway, so at the worst, you got to think that's where you'd finish. So if you're a guy like Codian, your tires are lit up after spinning, you have heavy damage on the nose, I would still stay out and just try to limp this thing home, salvage all of it that you can out of it.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen there for the 13, because it don't look too terribly bad. So if the front tires are still on it, yeah, I think I would kind of tend to agree with you there. If I've got a little bit of runoff there, if I flat spotted anything, I would no doubt with only 13 cars in the lead lap, if I'm out there running in 6, no, I may be a little bit impaired. I'm coming down there and going to strap 4 fresh tires on, but the 13 car, looks like he definitely got a hit to the front end, but it don't look too terribly bad. It's going to upset the speed some, but track position may be at such a premium here that maybe he can't afford to come down on pit road. We got some takers down there, but I believe the cars I do see are cars running off the lead lap. I believe all our lead lap cars have all elected to stay out. And I don't think, as you said, I don't think you can surrender track position right now, especially up to that top 2 or 3. You can't afford to pit out of there for a guy like Cody. And I thought maybe he's going to stay out as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, these guys that are running at the very tail end of the lead lap, I don't know why you wouldn't come down pit road. Guys like Daniel Dupuis, Ron Simpson, Ralph Pauly, you have nothing to lose. You're on the lead lap. You're going to be running 11th or 12th. If you pit or don't pit, why wouldn't you take some fresh tires and have a little bit of an edge on the guys that are ahead of you, maybe make up a few spots and make Caleb Lingle get in a bad spot? I think if a guy like Jeff Stakanis all of a sudden decided to come down pit road running 4th or 5th, you'd think a lot of guys behind you would come down, and then you're putting Caleb Lingle, Kilojoules in a really bad spot with not a whole lot of time left. They'll be on old tires for just a lap or two. That could be enough to win you the race. So for some of these guys, I'm just a little bit surprised. Some of these guys that are running in the chase, they're in a good spot on points. Why wouldn't you take that little bit extra risk to try and win this race? Because you're already going to come out pretty well points-wise out of this race anyway. I think the risk is worth it to try and win and not have to worry about the next 2 weeks. We've already seen a lot of guys out of this thing that were in the chase. You never know if that could happen next week.
Yeah, and you got to think, sometimes you got to do what they ain't and take that risk. And I can't believe, as you said, guys like Dupuis, Simpson, Paul, I mean, anybody back there, I would say about 7th on back, why not come down there to pit road, put some tires on, maybe drive the dickens out of this thing for 2 or 3 laps before you make the tires scream uncle. You could do that here at this version of Las Vegas. So I'm kind of puzzled why they didn't, elect to come down and maybe take a run at that. But I guess what do we know, Blake? We're just kind of announcers, I guess. I mean, I guess we're partially still sim races in a way. I know you're a whole lot still more active than I am out there, but I can't believe it. As racers in our own right, I am staggeredly stunned that even on the back end of the lead lap, you wouldn't at least come down. Daniel Dupuis, the last car in the lead lap, like you said, I don't know what you got to lose. You have nothing really to lose. I'm stunned. I can't believe they didn't come down.
I'm like you, Phil. It just seems like you're losing part of an advantage, but I guess track position's at a premium, and maybe that's just telling us that tires not playing as big of a factor as you would think. Obviously, there was a little bit of fall off, but these guys probably ran, anywhere between 15 and 20 laps on this last green flag run, and perhaps there's just not a whole lot of an advantage to be gained for them to try that. So I think the drivers are usually pretty good at telling you where an advantage can be found, and maybe there isn't one there. Maybe we're mistaken, but nevertheless, we're going to approach lap 105 when we hit the stripe of 107. So regardless, we're going to restart with 3 laps to go, and whether it's checkers or records for any of these drivers, we'll find out. Caleb Lingle, KJ Kilojoules running 1-2 with McGregor right behind him. They're all hungry as they see the green flag out over the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 3 laps to go.
3 laps remain. Caleb Lingle, Kilojoules, Jordan McGregor, Jeff Stakanis, Jeff Huey going to make up our top 5. We're going to get at it for a second. Look at Jordan McGregor, the newcomer to the series. He is inside of KJ Kilojoules. Drag race down to turn number 3 for that second spot.
Drag race down into 3. McGregor, though, trying to make it work on the bottom. He's going to have to get out on the gas. This is exactly what Lingle wants to see, a side-by-side battle. And again, any caution that's going to come out is going to put Lingle in a fantastic spot to win this race. KJ finally gets around him, but so much ground lost as he's going to try to dive it down into turns 1 and 2 and make up any ground that he can. But Phil, it may be a little bit too much too late.
It might be as we head into turn number 3 and 4. The start of this time, going to throw white flag up in the air. One more trip around the 1.5 mile Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the driver of car number 113. Caleb Lingle, 1.5 miles away from maybe punching an automatic ticket into the round of 12. Will he hold on? Can KJ or even the young Jordan McGregor, can they chase him down? They stay single file. 3 car lengths the advantage for Lingle off of 2.
Lingle down the long Nellis straight away for the final time here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. One more chance for KJ to try to make a dive into turns 3 and 4, but it's not going to matter. Entering turn 4 for the final time, it's going to be Caleb Lingle punching his ticket to the round of 12 and winning in the chase opener here at Hobo.
Sure does. Caleb Lingle taking down the win in Vegas. KJ Kilojoules for second. Jordan McGregor, big time third place run for a new driver to the series here tonight. Jeff Stakanis, he'll grab fourth. Jeff Fugate gets a good solid top 5 to start his chase. Daniel Dupuis, how about that number 24 from 13th up to 6th? Number 24, I believe he did come to pit road there, Blake, late, and I think it paid off. Jason San Diego win for 7th. Ron Simpson 8th. Randy Smith 9th. Rich Napick grabs a top 10. Harry Codian gets 11th. Ralph Pauly for 12th. Ricky Bumbelow finishes up 13th, the last driver on the lead lap. 14th, we find Steve Rubino, 1 lap down. Bob Gibson, Wiley King, Gary Morin, Brendan Spadafora. He'll finish up 18th. He's 1 lap down. 2 laps down, we find Keith McLean, 19th. Herman Reese will finish up 20th. And expect to see Keith and Herman that far down on the standings. 21st will go to Kevin Roy. 22nd, 3 laps down will be Maverick. Manny D going to finish up 23rd. Also 3 laps down. 4 laps down is Troy Donahue. He'll finish up 24th. The rest out of the race include Brett Carter, Danny Rubino, Steve Grant, Rob Keller, Brian Voiles, Ricky Johnson, Duke Sorensen, Eddie Rayleigh, and Rick Craddock. What was a huge 33-car field. Nobody better than Caleb Lingle tonight in the 113. He is going to go to BladeNote.com victory lane.
He certainly is. He's going to be one happy guy punching his ticket to the round of 12, not having to worry about the trials and tribulations that some of these drivers are going to have to face here in the next coming weeks. But several guys that you can point out here that just had a tremendous night. Jeff Stakanis, where did he come from? He finishes up in 4th. Fugate, like you said, Phil, a guy that could be a factor at the end. He finishes out in the top 5. Daniel Dupuis was on the tail end of the lead lap, and I think you're right. He brings it home 6th. And a lot of just great runs here for some guys that were in the chase to kind of make up that gap between some of the guys that were taken out earlier on in this one because of a couple of issues.
Yeah, absolutely. A terrific run for these guys tonight. Nobody better than the driver of the 113, Caleb Lingles. We'll try to get these guys screened out here. Talk about top 3 on the BladeNote.com Full Velocity Post Race Show is my button decides to do it again, moving some different stuff around and other than what I was looking at. So we'll grab a winner, Caleb Lingle. Also grab KJ Kilojoules and Jordan McGregor. We're going to send Blake down trackside, see if we can't catch up on our second and our third place finishers. So as I continue to move the buttons around, I think I've got this thing all worked out. There we go. We got the top 3 ready to rock and roll, Blake. I'll let you take our third and our second place finisher, Jordan McGregor. I'll head down to BladeNote.com victory lane.
He's not moving up here, Phil.
User was moved to your channel.
There we go. All right. So, Jordan McGregor, first time out here at Hobo Racing League, and you're already sitting on the podium. How about that? A great first run here for you in this league.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with finishing third. A little bit off pace as far as the race setup. Just slightly, we missed it just by a little bit. We were okay on the long runs. Had some trouble there in the last pit stop, put us a little bit behind. But just great race. Trying to stay out of the points race, trying to be respectful of these guys that are up there running for the championship. Just came out and turned some laps and had a good time.
No doubt about it, Jordan. It looked like you were mixing it up and looked like an experienced guy already out on the racetrack. We saw some pretty good long runs and a lot of attrition. Kind of explain what's kind of going through your mind. Obviously, you're not in the chase, so trying to give some respect to some of these guys, but there was a lot of chaos here early in the race. Describe that to the fans and just battling through that and trying to make a good evening out of this.
Yeah, we started off with a few cautions right in a row, and it's hard to get in a rhythm that way. But once everybody kind of got in a rhythm, we had a couple of good green flag runs there. All of us are out there running practice sessions trying to get good on the long runs, and it showed. Like Caleb and KJ, they were flying on those long runs. So that's props to them. They did a really good job.
Absolutely, they did a good job. Well, Jordan, I'll go ahead and throw the mic over to you. It's what we do here on the Full Velocity Racing Network. Give you a couple of moments here to shout out anybody out there that may have been watching or helped you here to get you to a third place finish tonight.
Yeah, just thank you all the drivers in the series. Running a good clean race there. Thank you, Steve, for letting me into the Cup Series. It's something I've been trying to get into for a while. Really excited to get up here and run some open setups with all these guys and have a broadcasted race on YouTube. You guys do a great job. So thanks again. We'll see y'all next week.
All right, well, that'll do it there for a third place runner here tonight, the number 15. Jordan McGregor going to finish up third as I move some traffic around here. For whatever reason, my buttons here are sticking this evening as usual, but I think it gives enough time to send Blake down to the driver number 29, Kilojoules, standing by with Blake McCandless.
Well, KJ, it looked like you had a real hot rod underneath the hood of that 029 Chevrolet. And as much as the leader, usually in that late race situation, doesn't want to see a caution, I don't think you wanted to either because, man, you had some great long-run speed in that thing.
Yeah, when that caution came out, I knew it was pretty much over because it took me a lap to keep going. I had one of them rare setups that it was good on lap 1, it was good on lap 30. I could drive it as hard as I wanted to, and it was still making good lap time. I ran Caleb down about 5 seconds there, so I needed it to go green all the way to have any chance of passing him.
That's exactly what I was thinking too, but didn't have the track position, but you still salvaged an amazing day out of it. You ended up second on the night and obviously had a lot of speed tonight. You came in second in the points as well. Kind of talk about that. A lot of guys had some issues tonight. You must be feeling pretty good here heading into the next couple of weeks here through this round of 16.
Yeah, Keith and Herman had some bad luck tonight. They're kind of a couple of the favorites here. I just want to start off with a good race. I thought I was going to get in that wreck on lap 1 because I was right behind Herman when that happened. And I just went up to the wall and just kind of parked. And I watched everybody drive by me wrecking, so I kind of got lucky there. But I screwed up qualifying, started in mid-pack, so I knew I was going to be in trouble. And the car just wouldn't really go first couple laps. After that, I could run it as hard as I wanted to. It's just, I kept making mistakes. And I finally got up there, and the car finally showed its speed there at the end.
Well, it certainly did. No doubt that you had a good piece tonight. Well, KJ, I'll go ahead and hand the mic to you. It feels like we may do this a couple of times before this season is out. Go ahead and give a shout out to anybody out there.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been having some bad luck here the last couple months. First of all, I want to say good win, Caleb. He said he was going to lead a lap, but he didn't, so I'm going to have to remember that. I want to thank the admins at Hobo for letting me race in the league. Also want to thank you guys at Full Velocity for putting the race on. I want to thank Brian Vole, Vole's Trucking. I also want to thank everybody out here watching the race tonight. It started off kind of bad, but towards the end, it was a pretty good race.
It certainly was a good race. Hopefully everybody out there on the Full Velocity Racing Network on YouTube, Facebook Live, everywhere that you can find this stream, really enjoyed that one. We enjoyed bringing it to you. I think we'll be talking to you soon here, KJ, so keep your head up, and congratulations on a great finish.
Yeah, good one, Caleb. Getting tired of you beating me here. It's getting kind of old, so I got to start turning the table a little bit on you.
Well, there you have it, folks. Some respect between both of these competitors, but Phil, I'll go ahead and let you talk it out with our winner tonight, Caleb Lingle.
Yes, it is. We find the number 113 car back in victory lane. Is a little bit of words there from our buddy KJ. Caleb, terrific run for you here tonight. That car looked to be a dream all night long. If there was a butt kicking that could be handled at Vegas here tonight, well, you roll the dice. You've got a 21. Whatever you could possibly do, the jackpot, you hit it here. Let's see if you get, brother.
Yeah, the car was pretty good. It wasn't the fastest car. Keith and KJ were definitely faster than me. Harry was pretty quick too. First half of the run. Then I kind of evened out with Harry and Keith. That KJ really seemed to have the car to beat here. He was quick all run long. I just happened to have the track position on him in the distance heading into that green flag pit stop, and had a little buffer there. He caught me some, but that caution came out and once again kind of saved me.
I'll tell you what, when you guys are all diving into pit road there under that round of green flag stops, I'll tell you, KJ got in there about as deep and as hot as you could get without getting busted for speeding. Thought he was going to gain all that ground on him. But your team, man, you guys really nailed a great pit stop. Able to keep that lead of about 2 even seconds you had on him. I mean, man, you got to give kudos to that team, man. What a flawless pit stop you had for what I thought was going to be a loss of time. You really made come out of a win of that one. And I think that may have been the difference. Keeping the track position up front, I think that helped propel you onto the win.
Yes, I agree. Coming out of the first pit stop right there is kind of a disadvantage under green, because she's kind of slow coming out the pit road and everybody else up to speed. So I was worried about that. I knew I was going to get bogged down a little bit, but somehow I was able to keep that distance on the exit.
Well, I will tell you what, man, a terrific job here at Vegas tonight. It's got to have a big sigh of relief here. Looking forward, the monkey off your back. You're going to race your way on into the round of 12. How much pressure now are you not feeling looking ahead to tracks like Richmond and Charlotte coming up here in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's a real big relief. Richmond's not really one of my strongest tracks, so I knew I'm gonna struggle there just a little bit, but hopefully still run at least top 10. But I don't think I have a chance to win that one. But who knows? But pressure's off, at least for the next 2 races, and then we'll go have some fun and see what we can do.
All right. Well, the last guy that told me that the short track wasn't his forte went up there and about won the entire race. So I'm going to expect to see your car backed up there again, Caleb, next week at Richmond. But, man, I'm going to give you the microphone one more time. We've done this quite a bit here, feels like, lately at Hobo Racing. Caleb, the floor is all yours live tonight. Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch TV. The big winner this evening. Take it away. Thank you. I'd like to thank out there that may be watching you.
I want to thank family out there that are watching and friends that are watching. Thanks to all my teammates for the help they give me, and everybody on the track that's been racing McQueen. Keith, Harry, KJ, they've been racing McQueen here today, and it was good. Appreciate Hobo and Bulls Trucking for sponsoring.
Absolutely. I agree with that as well. Thank Boyos Trucking, of course, for letting us get out here and do some NR 2003 stuff with everybody out here. Awesome. Caleb Lingo, tonight's big winner of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And Blake, we switch gears now, and we look ahead to what was a very fast track here tonight. Well, we head to the action track, the 3/4 mile, Richmond, Virginia, next week. God, after this awesome race tonight, what can we expect to see in Richmond?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think you know me well, Phil. I love Richmond. It's probably my favorite track. Really got a trail break there. And, I mean, it is a track where it's really hard to pass, but it's also wider than most people think. You can run kind of that first second, and even if you don't want to stop your momentum all the way up to the third groove. So I love Richmond. It's a fantastic track. I think open setups, it'll be really tricky for these guys to get a handle on, but couldn't really ask for much better. We had an action-packed race at Bristol. I think Hobo does short track racing right, and we'll just see what happens next Tuesday night.
I cannot wait to get back here. Thanks to my partner in crime, Mr. Blake McCandless, for joining us here on these Tuesday nights. My brother and my partner of a long time, Todd Stanton, I guess I would love to be here, but he's unfortunately has real life work to deal with here on Tuesdays now. So I'm glad Blake's able to step up and fill his shoes and doing a very admirable job of holding down the fort and maybe even beyond. There's no more better insights than that. Got to thank Jack Chewin for all his help on the controls. Got to thank our great sponsors here at the network. Of course, if we come back over to Hobo, we got to thank Boyles Trucking. Also got to thank Hannibal Record Service, iRacing, iFlag, CCM Designs. Also got to thank BladeNode.com, South Texas Speedway, Montstar Productions, TDR Racing League, Hard Motorsports, Trash Panda Graphics, Eichstadt Wraps, and of course our buddy Brendan Spadafora over at Full Throttle with the Gent. Over on YouTube, for Blake, for Jack, for Todd, for Ron Piles, Martin Karch, the rest of the cast here at the Full Velocity Racing Network. Phil, going to sign off, but we'll see you back here live tomorrow night. That's right, it's Wednesday tomorrow. That means it is time for another round of Dirt Warrior Racing League Wednesday night street fights. We'll see you back here live, 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow evening on your source for esports racing. Good night, everybody.